Okay. Uh, shall we? We are in 32. We just came through the resolution of Jacob's struggle with Laban. And so we'll get to that in a second. This is where we're at as Jacob leaves Haran to go back to Canaan. This is where we're at in terms of the 12 tribes, which is what this story is all about. If you're going to divide up the book of Genesis into sections, you can almost divide it up into sections of origin stories. So you have the creation, the origin of the heavens and the earth, and then you have the origin of sin, chapter 3. Then you have promise, the birth of promise in chapter 12. What else have we got? Then you move along and you've got I guess Israel, the birth of Israel. Jacob will be renamed Israel in chapter 32. And we've already seen before that, that's interesting. Even before he's renamed Israel, he's had 11 of the 12 tribes are birthed, if you will. So it's the origins of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's the section that we're in. It is also I think maybe other than Joseph, it's the longest section of Genesis. It's longer than the flood narrative, the creation stories, 2 chapters. It's as long as the downfall of mankind from chapter 3 to chapter 6. It's longer than that. 9. Yeah, but in terms of one story, you've got this idea of from Jacob's flight to Haran to his return to Canaan is 5 chapters. There's not a lot of stories in Genesis that are 5 chapters long, but that's one of them. In fact, that's it, except for Joseph's struggle in Egypt. We'll get back to those. We'll look at those in a second. But anyway, here's what it looks like for the 12 tribes. Benjamin's not been born yet. He'll be born on a trip after Jacob gets back to Canaan, and in which Rachel will die, giving birth and be buried. But that's what it looks like. So the yellows are Leah. And when the narrator lists out the sons of Israel, he will list out, he doesn't do it in order. He does it in a different order. And the order he does it in is Leah, as I recall, it's Leah, Rachel, and then the 2 concubines after that, Bilhah and Zilpah. So he gives Leah pride of place as the sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, the matriarch of this group. But anyway, there they are. 6 from Leah, 2 from Rachel, 2 from Rachel's maidservant, as they're called, and 2 from Zilpah, who is Leah's maidservant. The 2 most prominent sons in Israelite history are going to be Judah and Levi. Interestingly, both of them come from Leah. And Simeon will be absorbed into Judah and completely disappear off the map of Israel. They're still a tribe, but you're not going to see you'll see this sort of oval shaped, I think it's a guess. If you ask where did Simeon go, the answer is it got absorbed into Judah, basically.
Although at one time,
yes, he does.
He almost disappeared.
Yeah, his prominent spot is and he'll be that's the genealogy of Saul, the first king, who will be a failed king from God's standpoint. I think he was a rather successful king, but he will be defeated by the Philistines, and he will be overthrown by God himself. that pronouncement will be made by Samuel.
That's a point against them door by Judah as well.
Yes.
They part of the southern kingdom.
Yeah. And Dan will probably be the worst tribe. We'll find that out if we ever get back there, if I live long enough in Judges. That's a nasty tribe. He's not. A lot of these sons get egg on their face in Genesis. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah. Yeah, all those sons. Oh, that's interesting. The top 4 sons have nasty stories in Genesis associated with them. So we'll get to that chaos. It's all chaos. It's chaos. No, it's chaos all the way here.
I see Dan is not listed there in Revelation.
Yep. Joseph's 2 sons are Joseph is listed as well as Ephraim and Manasseh.
I don't see Evan. I see Manasseh.
Okay, you guys are trying to sucker me into
Okay.
a Revelation discussion again. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying it this time. All right, but anyway, that's the 12 tribes. Only one of them will be born in Canaan. He will come back. Who would have thought that when God promises Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that I will multiply your descendants like the stars of heaven, is that right? Or the sand, I forget which. That would all happen not in Canaan. That would happen in Paddan Aram. I don't know. But the result is that no, it's not even true that they're all descendants of the same family. Because Bilhah and Zilpah, we don't know where they came from. They were maidservants. Well, that means they're not of the clan of Bethuel and on up through Nahor and Terah. They're someplace else. So who knows where they came from. And the 12 sons will take wives from, wherever they feel like, basically.
Mostly how I can.
Reuben's going to have an affair. Talk about a euphemism. Whatever you want to call that with Bilhah. She's coming up. Total chaos. Anyway, here's the threats. Here's the threats so far, and they're not over yet, to the promise made to Abraham and the covenant of land, that he would inherit the land, chapter 15. Very, very specific promise from one sea to the other, from Sinai up to the great river, Euphrates. That's the promise. But Canaan is the land. Canaan is the promised land. And there's all through this, it's clearly a theme for Genesis. There's these threats to the covenant, to that covenant promise of land. Even to anything having to do with the promise at all. We started with Abraham's departure from Egypt, unprovoked, or not unprovoked. It was a famine, but not ordained, not ordered by God. It's not like God said, "Go thou to Egypt and I'll come get you later." He just went. And then after he gets one threat, because he's left Canaan now. Then there's Sarah being taken into the Egyptian king's harem, and there's no return from that. So, Abraham says, "Oh, well, easy come, easy go." Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I don't know what he was thinking he was going to do. Then there was Lot, who was a competitor for the land of Canaan. That got resolved when Lot chose to go east where bad things happen. In this case, bad things to Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot gets saved. And then that's a nasty story with his daughters. All that happens before the covenant promise of land in 15. But then there's the birth of Ishmael, who's the firstborn. And there's this thing in the Bible with firstborns. Just because God loves to overrule the firstborn, and he does it right here. It won't be Ishmael who will inherit. It will be Isaac. Then there's the Isaac is born, and then the very next story is Abraham very nearly sacrificing Isaac on the altar, and his hand is held back by the angel of God, who turns out to be essentially God himself. Then there's the birth of Esau, firstborn, over Jacob. But we know that's not going to last because in the midst of their birth narrative, it is told Rebekah that Jacob, the elder, will serve the younger. So that's decreed. Things line up that way. There's the stolen blessing. Yuck. Jacob departs to Haran, so he leaves the land, exactly like for a different reason, I guess. But as Abraham did, like father, like grandfather, like son, grandson. So that's a threat. Then the threat within the threat is Jacob's 20-year struggle with Laban, who is bound and determined to leave this man with nothing at all. So he was told to go there and take a wife from basically Laban's family. And I didn't know that they were sending him to the man who would take everything from him and leave him with nothing. But that was clearly his intent, as we found out in chapter 31. And it's certainly what Jacob thought and said so. Now he's got to return to Canaan, which you think would be a good idea. Great news. Covenant promise, covenant of land. He's back in Canaan. But, he's leaving Canaan. He's leaving Haran for two reasons. The reason on the ground, in the human narrative, it's because he's got to get away from Laban, because he's figured it out. But the divine narrative is, you're going back to Canaan because that's the land you're going to inherit. Well, what about Esau? I'll work it out. And so now the next threat is he's got to go have a face-to-face reckoning with Esau, who 20 years ago had vowed that he was going to kill Jacob for stealing the inheritance as soon as Isaac, their father, died.
There is one more thread. You go over, not a big deal, but chapter 20, Sarah's taking them to Abimelech, Haran. Well,
Right. Yeah.
I think like there's the chapter,
Yeah. With important differences. There's important similarities and important differences. But a lot of yellow. Those are threats to the covenant. Obviously a theme. That God in the midst of these threats to the covenant overrides them, overrules them. It was going to be anything but clear sailing. When the Israelites come out of Egypt, they could have just as easily gone north around the edge of the Mediterranean Sea and gone right up into Canaan. Too easy. It's not how God works. No. In order to get to that land, look at the struggle to get to, they're in Egypt, which is, look at this on the ground. Let's look at the geography. They're going to be in here. So all they have to do, what's the distance? It's like 100 miles right there, right? 100 and some odd miles. That's all they got to do to get to the land of Canaan. But God says, no, we're not doing that. You're going back to the mountain, which I think is obvious. It's down here. But even then, just go like that.
yeah.
Why, but they didn't. He drives them to here, in my view. There's some great documentaries on this. They found really interesting stuff on the seafloor in the Gulf of Aqaba. This is Nuevo Beach, I think it's called right here. This little, there's a little out, I don't know what you want to call it. The land sticks out right there a little bit. But anyway, that's where they end up, somewhere around there. But then they gotta do this cross. So there's all these threats, and they're going to continue. The threats to the covenant promise will continue unabated from chapter 12 of Genesis. Well, to
The end of the story.
well, all the way the entire period of the entire period of the entire history of Israel until the birth of the Messiah. That will continue.
I've never thought about that. Just the thought came to me. That Pharaoh knew exactly where they were gonna go. When, since he ended up chasing after them, which direction they actually went. Because they were grieving over their firstborn child. The Egyptians wouldn't have been paying attention to where The Israelites went, which direction they went. But
They-
they followed, they were able to follow, and they, you know,
Uh,
back to where they were at.
that many people are gonna leave a trail that's easy to follow. Once you get to a certain point over here, if you go look at the geography, once you get into these, these hilly, hill, yeah, but when you cross this desert with that many people and carts and so on and so forth, you know, not hard to,
Guy could have went, swiped up there.
could, but I'm just saying. But then once you get into these mountainous areas, this mountainous area right here, there's only so many, there's only a certain kind of pass you can get to the sea through. So it's, once you're in it, you're stuck in it. They can't like go around this way or that to get to them from another direction. You have to follow the path that they went, because that's basically the only path to get there. So that, you know, we'll look at that. Maybe we'll look at that sometime.
I think we'll straight up that way, they were gone in Philistine
Yeah,
territory.
yeah. I'm just saying that he can work around that too.
Yeah.
Just, you know, they win against the Philistines, but nope, they're going through the sea because God needs to display his power.
Okay.
And so that's how that works out on the ground. All right. So that's that. Okay. And so now it's been resolved with Laban. Jacob wins. Jacob wins. Laban loses. Laban gets nothing of Jacob's. Jacob walks away with, I don't know how much of Laban's stuff, but Rachel and Leah they all seem to agree that God has taken away what Laban has and given it to. That's the reason the sons are upset. The sons of Laban is they're apparently not going to get much of an inheritance because it all got transferred to Jacob. So how does Jacob get out of this alive? And the answer is God intervenes. He intervenes with the Pharaoh. Many, many parallels on this flight back to Canaan. There are many parallels with Israel's flight from Egypt, flight out of Egypt. If you think of Haran and the 12 tribes being there, well, we can already talk about it. It's a flight back to Canaan in both cases. It's kind of a flight in the middle of the night where on the one side in the Exodus, there's the Pharaoh hotly pursuing him. There's a flight with sons and daughters and camel, whatever, cattle and sheep and so everything they have. An entire group is leaving that land and being hotly pursued by the king of Egypt on the one side in the Exodus story, and then by Laban and his group, his people, on the other side in this story. So you have all these parallels that are taking place to get to Canaan. And there's going to be another one. When they get to the land, after the Exodus, they got to do something they got all these hostile peoples in Canaan. When Jacob gets to the land, what is he going to encounter? So he thinks. What's his problem with going back to Canaan? He's got Esau to contest with, who wants to kill him. So it eerily foreshadows, like other stories do in Genesis, it eerily foreshadows the experience of the Exodus from Egypt, 400 some odd years later, 500 years later, whatever the number is. Just got to kind of notice it. But anyway, this is the last words between Laban and Jacob. They're not friendly words in spite of the fact that some kind of covenant is made here. There's an interesting, let me see if I can find it. There's an interesting, I listened to the King James because it's Alexander Scourby. on YouTube. Chapter was that 31. You look at the King James version of this. I love the language. That's one of the reasons I like it. Jacob, verse 18 there. Jake, and Jacob carried away all his cattle and all his goods, which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Paddan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father. The cattle of his getting. That's the way Scurvy says it. Yeah. Yeah. It's really funny. It's like it's similar to the first appearance of Saul when he's in when they want to anoint him king and he doesn't want to be anointed king. Yeah. And so they're all going, we want to anoint Saul as our king. And so the king said, where is Saul? Where is Saul? And the King James translation is, he hath hidden himself among the stuff. The baggage or something like that.
It's also in the old King James, a reference to male, which is very odd in First Samuel. He that hisseth down a wall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, so that's the way 31 ends. That's resolved. We've got a resolution to the Laban problem. Only to walk from, like I said before, he was jumping from the fire when he left Canaan, which is Esau, into the frying pan, which was Laban and Haran. Now he's jumping back out of the frying pan, but into the fire. Or so you think. Because nobody knows at this point what's going to happen with Esau. It's been utterly silent. It's this day of reckoning that is out there, except that God has said on his way out of Canaan, I'm going to bring you back. And Jacob said, okay, well, if you bring me back and you prosper me, then you will be my God and I'll be your servant and I'll give you a tenth. Then just before he leaves Haran, he gets another appearance from God. Time to go. Did you think I'd forgotten? I remember what you said. I didn't forget. You said that if I did such and such, you'd do such and such. Well, I'm doing such and such. So you're going to do such and such. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And during this period in Haran, Paddan Aram, there's no hint, I'll repeat, that Jacob ever himself engaged in idolatry. It appears that when he said, you will be my God, and I will be your servant, and I will give a tenth to you, that he held true. As far as idolatry, he held true on that promise. There's no hint that when Laban appears about the household idol thing, he says, I don't know what you're talking about. I got nothing to do with idols. If you find the idols with anyone in our group, go ahead and kill them. I didn't do it. We didn't do it. We don't want any part of your idols. Except Rachel did, for whatever reason. Did I leave anybody out of the? Nope. All right. So now let's move on with 32. He's not done with God. God is not done yet appearing with him. We're in the long story, 5 straight chapters from the flight from Canaan to settling back in Canaan and having all these conflict resolved. And so let's take a look at, what are we looking at here? 1 through 6. Now, as Jacob went on his way, so he's now headed southwest, or south anyway, at this point. He's up here. He's up, I wish I could see. Where's Haran? He's up here. He's headed back down. He's going to end up over here first. But so that's his direction, kind of southwest. Whoops. As he went on his way, the angels of God, angels plural, the second time, of God met him. Never was there a man who received more visitations from God and angels who was more undeserving of them than Jacob, soon to be renamed Israel. Jacob said when he saw them, this is God's camp. So he named the place Mahanaim. What is the significance of Mahanaim? I don't have it on this map. It's over here. What is the significance of Mahanaim in the history of Israel? Extra credit. Important story.
Is that? Guys, an extension came?
I don't know. Did he? How about, that's the city that David fled to when Absalom successfully launched a coup against him and forced David to either kill Absalom or flee from Israel. So he fled across the Jordan and he went to Mahanaim. And that was his base, from which he would retake the kingdom. You can, yeah, go ahead and confirm that. I'm working off memory right now. So now we have another place name of a significant city in the history of Israel, named by Jacob. It's not the only one he's gonna rename. Gilead as well, already happened previously in the last chapter. Jabesh Gilead. What was the importance of that city? Narrative. Jabesh Gilead was the city that Saul made his name at. After he became king, the Ammonites attacked and issued an ultimatum, and Saul intercepted them and defeated the Ammonites and saved Jabesh Gilead, which is why the Jabesh Gileadians, I don't know, Gileadites, and Etz, the Gileadites and Gileadites. When Saul was murdered, and then wasn't he beheaded? Yes.
Yes, you will.
His body was taken by the people of Jabesh Gilead and buried. And then David, because of that association, and then David, I believe, will go get the body and rebury it in a more honored place or something like that. I forget how that story went.
There's fighting on the land because Saul and the Gibeonites.
Yeah.
And in order to stop it, he went and got the bones of Saul and some of his sons, not all the sons, and gave them to the Gibeonites, them to do with whatever they wanted. But
we'll go back and-
there might be two different stories.
Yeah, well, the story there was, they said, we want the heads of his sons. So he had all of the sons killed, and that's that heartwarming tragedy story of the concubine who lost her son in that. And just to make sure nobody forgot, she sat someplace until the rains came back, waiting for the promise of God. If I'm going to give up my son, I'm not moving until I see the promise of God. And then it started, I think it was rain, but somebody can look up that story. Anyway, Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Well, that is down here to the south. So Esau, I don't know if he's roaming in Canaan and back and forth, but you can already see the pieces moving. The problem of competition over Canaan, because Esau also might say, no, I'm staying in Canaan and this ain't big enough for the two of us. I'm going to kill Jacob and I'm going to take his stuff and I'm taking Canaan, or I'm taking my area. So he's going back head to head with a potential competitor for the land of Canaan, like Lot was, and like Ishmael would have been, and so forth.
Jacob must have been aware of his brother's whereabouts.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I mean, you can send messengers and find out, or they keep track, because Abraham knew what was going on well enough for his servant to send his servant up there to get Rebekah, and Isaac and Rebekah knew well enough what was going. It's not that far, what was going on to send Jacob back there. You get a sense of his posture right away that he's going to take before. He's not going to war. He ain't a warrior. That was made clear in the origin story with Esau and Jacob. Esau is the manly man who's the hunter. Jacob is the shepherd dwelling in tents. with Rebecca. That's the way this has to resolve itself along those lines. And so you get that sense of how this is going to have to resolve itself by his posture right here. Thus she shall say to my lord Esau. So his posture is submissive. So he's acknowledging Esau's superior place as the elder and so forth. He has no, I don't know whether he has any idea. Esau is going to indicate that he doesn't have any idea about Jacob's prosperity in Haran, but Jacob seems to be aware of Esau's prosperity. Thus says your servant, there it is again, Jacob, I have sojourned. I wasn't going to stay there permanently. I've stayed temporarily with Laban until now. I have oxen and donkeys and flocks and male and female servants, plural. And I have sent to tell my Lord, once again, that I may find favor in your sight. He's asking for, I don't know what you want to call it, reconciliation. Why would Esau give him reconciliation after what Jacob did? The only way these two can be reconciled peacefully is the intervention of God himself. We already saw what that intervention looked like with Laban. So you would expect then, if the Laban pattern holds, you would expect Esau to hotly pursue, and he wouldn't hesitate, hotly pursue Jacob, overtake him, and just murder him and his whole clan. Unless God, like he did with Laban, intervenes and says, take care that you say nothing good or bad to Jacob. But there's no hint that happened. It may have happened, but there's no hint of it. And Jacob assumes the worst. This guy's going to want to kill me and everybody in my house. They tended not to leave anybody alive, any of the males alive, like we're going to find out with Reuben and Simeon when Dinah, their sister, gets taken by Shechem. Is it Simeon and Levi? I got that wrong. Sorry. Let's see. So there's this appearance that doesn't give a reason. Nothing is said. He just gets an appearance from these angels. So there's just like this sense of divine providence on Jacob's life. It's appearance after appearance. He's all over. Normally God is out of sight, and you can just tell by how things work out that he's present. It's the invisible hand of God. It's not invisible here. Ever since the flight started from, he's the one who tells Jacob to go back to Canaan. He intervenes with Laban personally. Now there's another visit, just to have a visit. Nothing is said. I don't know. But that's it. And they move on. Let's see. No, I accidentally said everything on my notes almost. All right. So, and anyone want to say anything more about that? The messengers returned to Jacob. Boy, that was short. That was a short trip, narrative-wise. Saying, we came to your brother Esau, and furthermore, he is coming to meet you. And 400 men are with him. So what is if you're Jacob?
Oh,
This is Esau. 400 men, Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed in spite of all these visitations from God. Because he doesn't even, he just knows that he's going to go back. He doesn't really know how it's going to alter. Half his people could be killed. Esau, he could let him stay alive, but he'll take all his stuff. Any number of things could happen. He divided the people who were with him and the flocks and the herds and the camels into two companies. He must have a lot because he's going to give a lot. He's going to give a lot to Esau. For he said, if Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the company which is left will escape. I don't know about that. My hunch is that Esau doesn't leave things undone, unfinished. Let's go on to 12. And Jacob said, I'm up against it. I got nothing. I escaped Laban. Now I'm back in the fire. I just jumped from the frying pan into the fire. Oh God of my, there it is. The great statement is finishing out here. He will end up being the God of Abraham and I am the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. And even Jacob understands that at this point. Oh God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, he is the God of our family. O Lord Yahweh, O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, namely Yahweh, who said to me, return to your country and to your relatives, and I will prosper you. Hey, you told me to do this. So you have to, I need a miracle here. I need something because I'm dead if you don't do something. I am unworthy. This is maybe his most inspiring statement in all of, maybe his only inspired statement, inspired small I statement in all of Genesis. I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the faithfulness which you have shown to your servant. For with my staff, now we get a sense of what he had when he left. For with my staff only, I crossed this Jordan. So he's near the Jordan. And now I have become two companies. So he's been very, very prospered. He left with nothing, sleeping with a rock under his head, if you remember. I think it was in Bethel. And now he's aware of where it came from. And in spite of all of his troubles and struggles while he was in Haran, he views it as he's been the recipient of God's loving kindness and faithfulness. So here's the statement. The guy's come a long way. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him that he will come and attack me and the mothers with the children. So this, is he just being paranoid, or does he know his brother? I think he knows his brother. And Esau, when he left, the Esau that he left is not above just wiping out the whole group and taking everything that he has. And he's capable of doing it. For you said, now he calls God. God called him, said, hey, I remember what you said, that you would be my servant, and I'm calling it now. You're going to return to Canaan. You're going to be my servant. So here he is. He's stuck up against Esau. He says, I remember what you said. So now you have to do something. You said, I will surely prosper you and make your descendants as the sand of the sea. There's the recitation of the promise of God, starting in Genesis 12. Make it as sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered. We already have a down payment on that, a foreshadowing of that with these 12 sons. Are any of these sons married? One of those unanswered. Yeah, I know those guys got started early though. Actually,
Be 15 years old.
yeah, okay, it could be. Although in Genesis, they start old. Abraham started old. Isaac, Jacob was older. Let's see. But anyway, I think this is an important statement for this formula. God of my father, right here.
Esau answered to decent business because you wouldn't have brought, who's gonna come and meet him, you wouldn't have brought, and his intention was to wipe Jacob out. You wouldn't have brought 400, an army with them to.
Doesn't say an army, it just says 400 men. I mean, you can assume there's,
But that's a lot, right?
no, it is. So here's what I think. I think the way has already been smoothed. Esau can't wait to see Jacob. And when he gets to see Esau, when he meets Jacob, he's gonna say, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and leave some men with you to see you safely conducted to where you need to go. And I think that's what he had in mind, that this is a reception party where he's gonna, because it's a dangerous place. I mean, that's how I read it. I don't think I'm necessarily giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's just, there's no hint from the beginning of the story.
Doesn't tell scripture, the guy might have did something to Esau, as he did to Laban, met him.
Possible.
Said, hey, you leave him alone, you leave him alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Esau's, but when he did that with Laban, Laban said it straight up. Basically, if it wasn't for your God appearing to me last night, I'd take everything you have. He said, everything you have is mine. The daughters are mine. The sons are mine. Everything is mine, but there's nothing I can do about it. But when Esau gets there, he runs and embraces him, and well, we'll get there in a minute, but so I don't know, but
Where you. Yeah, you might describe it the way David took it.
no, oh, no question. From Jacob's standpoint, well, that's the twist, right? If we assume that Esau couldn't wait for reconciliation, now you have Jacob on the other side, terrified because he reads the 400 men. What is meant as 400 men to escort him safely to where he wants to go is read as 400 men that are going to come like the Egyptians and wipe him out.
It says here that Jacob had servants. We don't know how many.
Yeah, but probably not 400.
No, yeah, and they're not men of war. At any rate, but Esau's, you get the sense, I agree with Mike, you get the sense that these guys are here and capable. For whichever purpose, they're capable. Okay. Well, let's see. That's all I got for, what time is it? All I got, that's the final the great, drama. What started as, Jacob holding on to Esau's heel and then tricking him out of his birthright, if you want to call it a trick, and then stealing the blessing. Now you have this final confrontation that the story's been headed to the whole time. So he spent the night there. He divides the people into two companies. You can assume Leah and Zilpah on one side and Rachel and Bilhah on the other side, or not. He divides them equally. I don't know. Then he's on his own. So he spent the night there, and he selected from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau, 200 female goats. Look at this stuff. 20 male goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milking camels and their colts, 40 cows, and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. And of course, you're meant to understand by that just how much stuff Jacob has, how much God, when Jacob says that God prospered him when Jacob says to Rachel and Leah, thus God has taken away from Laban and given to me, he didn't mean a few things. He meant Laban, there's a reason Laban was so angry. He's looking at this huge, what do you want to call it? Why is somebody trying to call me? No.
Get a good technique.
This multitude of blessing on Jacob and realizing it all came from him. So he thinks. But here it is, a little down payment on it. He delivered them into the hands of his servants. Every drove by itself and said to his servants, pass on before me and put a space between droves. He commanded the one in front, saying, when my brother Esau meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong? And where are you going? And to whom do these animals in front of you belong? Then you are to say, these belong to your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. So he obviously thinks that the messengers failed. And behold, he also is behind us. Then he commanded also the second and the third and all those who followed the droves, saying, after this manner shall speak to Esau when you find him, and you shall say, behold, your servant Jacob also is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me. Then afterward I will see his face. I never liked that word appease, except in regard to what Jesus did for me. I like that one, but perhaps he will accept me. Now, to Mike's point, it may be that this overwhelmed Esau and he changed his mind, but this is all we get. So the present passed on before him while he himself spent that night in the camp. It's going to be an important night in the history of Israel.
Great, great. So.
Let's see. I don't have any notes on that. So I'll headed towards the final, it won't be a confrontation. It'll be either a slaughter, an enslavement, or a reconciliation. We have no indication that there's going to be a reconciliation. Other than, well, no, even with God, he can do anything he wants to Esau. And he arose that same night and took his 2 wives and his 2 maids and his 11 children and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. Oh, I see. I didn't see that. So he took all of the stuff and he divided it into 2 companies. But all of his people, his wives and children, he keeps with him. He took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Now he really is alone. So let's just go ahead and read it. We only got 5 minutes. Then Jacob was left alone. You don't know if he's ever going to see any of this again. The stuff, the wives, the children, everything. And out of nowhere, the story started with an appearance from angels out of nowhere for no purpose, no stated purpose. And now he is wrestling with the man for no stated purpose. A man wrestled with him until daybreak. And when he saw that he had not prevailed against him, if I read this right, the man saw that the man was not prevailing against Jacob, he touched the socket of his thigh, so the socket of Jacob's thigh was dislocated while he wrestled with him. Then he said, the man, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. That's a long time. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me, says Jacob. So he said to him, what is your name? Obviously knowing his name. He said, Jacob. He said, your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel. For you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. So before the encounter with Esau, just before the encounter with Esau that could result in the mass slaughter of everyone, God appears and renames, you get finally the name of Israel before that event. So there's no question in the narrative that this will work out, however it will work out. But we now have Israel. So this is a great origin story right here. The origin of the nation of Israel. Where did the name Israel come from? Talk about an important story in the history of Israel. How did Israel get its name? It got its name in this all-night wrestling match between a man who was never identified and Jacob, who was renamed Israel by the man. Then Jacob, your name shall not be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men and have prevailed. Jacob asked him and said, please tell me your name. He said, why are you asking for my name? It's either you should know who I am, or you don't get to ask my name. I don't know which way to go on that, or maybe another third option, I don't know. So he didn't get an answer to the question of what his name is. He's just the anonymous man, but we're going to get it in a minute. And he, the man, the nameless man, said, no, you're not getting my name. Blessed him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel. The El there is God, the El. For he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been preserved. I have seen God face to face and walked away with only a limp from a injured thigh. And I'm never getting over that. I'll walk with a limp for the rest of my life. And it'll be an important part of the origin story for the history of Israel, which he'll say in a second here. Now the sun rose upon him just as he crossed over Penuel, another L name, and he was limping on his thigh. Therefore, to this day, the sons of Israel do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of Jacob's thigh in the sinew of the hip. So then one of the questions is, what is this day? When is this day? To this day.
That would
Right?
be Moses.
We'll talk later. So that's the story of we're not even to Esau yet. But we're just laboring this story with the story of Jacob in Haran and then coming back. It just goes on and on and on. Let's see what else I got here.
But the high noon, you know,
Yeah, oh, it's a great movie. Yeah.
Just laboring the hours and minutes
Yeah.
until that showed up.
Did you know that movie is real time? Yeah, the movie is an hour and a half long, and when they show the clock waiting for noon, it's actually ticking through. So the time of the movie is the same is an hour and a half, matching. Yeah. Everybody should watch High Noon. It's one of the great Westerns of all time, if you're into Westerns, which everyone here should be. Let's see.
I got you on.
So God is presented as a man in the story of Abraham's encounter with the three men on their way to destroy Sodom. And now he's a man again here. So Jacob gets further affirmation that he's going to survive what's going to happen with Esau. And the Israelites now have an explanation for how they became Israel from Jacob. And that's all I got as we wait for what's going to happen with Esau. It's one of the great stories in Genesis, heartwarming. It's one of only two heartwarming stories, in my view. So I'll go ahead and stop there. Thanks for joining. Anyone who's left.